Blown away. Yep. Today, after so many requests, how did you take that picture? I'm going to tell you the story of Blown Away in this new episode of Behind the Lens with Simone Maduzzi, which is me. How did I take this picture? That's the question. How many people ask me throughout the years, how did you make it happen? All right, this is the story. Dandelion. You know when you have an idea in your head and you think it's going to be easy. Oh yes, I'm just going there, click, click, done. And that's what I actually thought when I had this idea in mind. I wanted to take a picture of a dandelion that was blowing away. Bologna, Italy, where I'm from, and there is a huge field, there was a huge field near the house where I was living, full of dandelions. It was about May, June, and I remember I said, okay, I'm gonna grab couple of lenses. I don't need long lenses, but I remember I grabbed the 7200 and the 2470, and I just drove to that field and I started to think, okay, so about perspective wise, I probably need to lay down and all right, I'm gonna focus on the dandelion and I'm just gonna wait that some wind will blow and boom, picture done. 10 minutes and my pasta will be ready at home because it's going to be one of the easiest click ever. It didn't really go as planned, as you can imagine. So I did lay down and I was ready focusing on the dandelion. The problem is you don't know if the wind will blow in one direction or the other, and you don't know how powerful eventually that wind will come, right? So I lay down, I got ready, nothing. And you stay down there for 10, 20, 30 minutes, nothing. And then, yes, some wind is coming and the dandelion was bending on this direction or in the other direction, and I couldn't take any good picture, not even a decent picture. And then frustration got a little bit high because I knew what I wanted to do. Usually, you know what you want to do and you know how to make it happen. But for this particular shot, I didn't know how to make it happen. I knew for sure that I needed to put my focus point on a part of the flower that no matter what happened, it wouldn't go anywhere. And that's why, as you can see, the focus is actually here. Why? No matter how strong the wind will be, well, the center of the flower wouldn't go anywhere, right? So, all right, I'm focusing on another set of dandelions because the ones that I was taking the pictures priorly, they all blew away, but no good pictures. So turning around, and of course you still need to match where the light is, so you cannot just go randomly. You gotta follow the light is behind me, perfect, laying down, getting ready, nothing. Shutter speed, it's a kind of priority, right? Because, again, you don't know. Consider that it's a flower. So the wind is blowing, it can bend like this, or it can shake like this. But you need to make sure that you don't blur the picture. So shutter speed needs to be high. How high? Well, you don't know, and that's the point, because you don't know how strong the wind will be. Getting ready, it's already a couple of hours that I'm laying down on this field And I already tried at least 30, 35 different dandelions, but nothing. All right, this is the right time. All right, yes, it's a little bit breezy. That's perfect. So it's not that strong, the wind. Perfect. I'm laying down. I'm ready to click. The wind changed direction and the dandelion moved on the other direction, and I wasn't ready with my focus point. Long story short, well, I usually am not that short when I tell my stories, but long story, well, let's say long story long, it didn't happen. I spent the entire day from 10 a.m. when the sun was pretty high to 4 or 5 p.m. The sun started to rise the sun started to set, and it just didn't happen. Sometimes, you can try as hard as you want, it just doesn't happen. I also tried to change the lens, tried to give more depth of field. Nothing. As soon as I was ready, the flower was moving too fast, the flower was moving in a different direction, or it was just exploding too fast. I can tell you, I was a little bit frustrated, also a little bit pissed, because I thought it was an easy picture to take. I thought it was an easy click, but it wasn't. And I drive back home a little bit disappointed, unhappy, because when you have an idea, you just want to make it happen. I know I can do it, but it wasn't happening. I'm driving back home. I get off the car, my 2 cameras, nothing really happened, 100+ pictures, but no one good. No one not even close to what I wanted to do. Well, in my backyard, in San Lazzaro di Savena, where I was living, in my probably 20 square feet backyard, there was one dandelion. The sun was already setting, but the light was still pretty good. And I thought, okay, let me think out of the box. I had my wife at that point because she was living there, and I said, what if I ask her to grab the flower? I'm gonna set up my settings, I'm gonna use that specific lens, and I'm gonna count till 3, and then she could blow it. At that point, I knew how strong the wind would be, but I also knew the direction that the dandelion will bend eventually. So I decided to lay down. I asked her to lay down as well, because I wanted as a background very, very blurry green, grass green. So what I did was lay down. I used the 7200, and I used a very low aperture. Low aperture for 2 reasons. Because the light was not that good as it was in the morning when I first started to try. And second of all, because the lowest aperture you get, 2.8 for this specific shot, the more blurry you have your background, anything that is behind your main subject. So what I did was 2.8, I put 1,000 shutter speed, which I didn't need it, but I needed to make sure I had only one left dandelion, one last chance, and I didn't want to blow it, right? So I asked her to lay down. She grabbed the dandelion. I lay down, so I had the perfect flat grass green in the back. As you can see, I put the focus here, and I counted till 3. 1, 2, 3. She blew, and I took multiple pictures, probably about 20. I looked at the pictures. Yes, I got it. I actually have more than one very great picture. When I say very great, which is not even English, very good pictures, I mean that I've been able to accomplish what I wanted to do. So thinking out of the box sometimes helps. It's still in the nature, and it still worked perfectly. Is there any Photoshop in this picture? No. The green is real. You can see darker were some dark areas in the grass. How did I make this happen? I made this happen because I put the focus point on the only thing that it wouldn't blow away, which is the center of the flower. Now, the biggest conversation that I had during my photography seminars is why the flower is not in the center. Well, let me ask you this question. What is important for you in this picture? For me, the tiny little fella that is flying away is blowing away. This is my main subject. Not the flower, but what is blowing away. Now, if I put the flower in the center, my little tiny fellow will be right here. But everything that is in the center, it's getting more importance. And I wanted to make sure overall, don't take me wrong, you don't, even if the wind is controlled, you don't know how fast this will disattach from the flower. So I do have another picture where I have even this part that is flying away. So I have two little pieces that are getting disattached from the flower. There is a rule in photography that you can follow or not follow, that is the rule of third. If you put the flower in the center, as we just said, my little part that for me is more important than the flower itself will be here. Not that important. If I divide my picture by a third, second third, third third, and I put my subject, which at the beginning is the flower, and I put it in a third of the picture, I can give on the second and the third third, I can tell you the story. So rule of third is put your subject in a third and let the subject breathe. Let the subject gives you the story. Is it always working? No. Do I think when I take the picture, ooh, let me put the grid in my camera so I can count 1, 2, 3 and put the subject in the first one? No. But it just happened on your own once you start to get used to it. Think at a portrait. Take a picture of me right now. Where would you put your focus point? You will put it here, right? Because usually it's not my fat belly that is important, it's my face. So if you take a vertical shot, you will realize on your own that the face, it's going to be on the top first third of the picture. So even if you didn't think about it, you just utilized the rule of third. In this specific picture, it worked very well. Now, I love to name my pictures. For me, the title, the name of the picture is almost as important as the picture itself. It took me a while to get what for me was the perfect name for the picture. The name of the picture is Blown Away, and every time I have the discussion about this picture, I've heard so many different stories. When I say story, I mean what is give a meaning to this picture. Now, for me, can be this is the end of an era, or I'm turning 30, I'm getting old, my past and my future, or closing a door, opening another door. I had somebody that told me, my husband just passed away, and when he passed away, he was in love with dandelion, so this is like his spirit moving forward, but the memories are still here. You can give any meaning to the picture that you want, but for me, Blown Away was the right name for it. I used the rule of third. I think it did work very well. I thought out of the box. I think it did work very well. I knew what I was doing. I knew how to use my aperture and shutter speed, which is important because the more you know about your camera, the more you know how far you can go and how far you can push your equipment. So I knew that using a 2.8 lens, it will give me the depth of field. If you want to know how the depth of field works and how the aperture works, depth of field related, there is a specific video in one of my playlists in my YouTube channel, which I suggest you to subscribe on, that it's all about that. The playlist, it's what does it take to get the right shot, and there is one specific video about the depth of field and one specific video about the aperture. Blown Away. Now you know the story. Now you know how I thought out of the box to reach my goal, which was to take a dandelion explosion. Thank you for being part of these videos. Thank you for keep asking me questions. Behind the lens about Blown Away, it's over. Thank you so much. I can't wait to tell you some other stories behind the lens. For now, it's all good night.